Hello and a warm welcome to Day 7 at Tata Literature Live. The 11th annual Mumbai International Lit Fest is the first one to be completely digital, co-sponsored by Tata Steel and Tata Projects. We do hope you've been enjoying the Lit Fest so far. Edward Albee has said, and I quote, "Do you know what a playwright is? A playwright is someone who lets his guts hang out on the stage." Initiated in 1966, by Theatre Group Bombay and named after their founder, the Sultan Padamsee Playwriting Awards have been among the most prestigious for English language dramatists in India. The 4 plays shortlisted for the Sultan Padamsee Award this year are Undaunted by Ganesh Kamatham, The Shaking Earth by Mashuq Deen, Rukmani's Gold by Radha Menon, and Freeing Frankenstein by Prashanth Nair. In the upcoming video, you will get to watch excerpts from the shortlisted plays. Do take a look.
When I was asked to be one of the judges for this year's competition, I frankly didn't know what to expect. Now, what was most surprising, of course, was the sheer number of entries. We had more than 100 of them. More than that, the variety of subjects that was covered was also very, very impressive. Now, I personally believe that drama is not about sets or costumes or dialogue or anything like that. Good plays are necessarily about relationships, and we had a vast number of characters and how they interacted and how they related with each other. So I wish all the people who took part in it all the best for their future endeavors. I congratulate the people who won the awards, and I wish them all the best, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to see some of these plays being staged in Mumbai in the not too distant future.
What gladdens this theatre lover's heart is not just so many people all over the world, Indians, are writing plays, but that the entries we got this year were of a staggering variety. And interestingly, not even 1 or 2 of them had predictable subjects. So it was great fun reading them, great fun discovering new writers. And what's really interesting is all 3 of us on the jury almost came to the decision of picking the same place with a minimal of debate. So it's just that good quality, great number, and hopefully when theatres start, we'll have a whole bunch of good new productions happening.
It was a pleasure, although sometimes it was a little bit of a slog, particularly when we were looking at those 11-page scripts that made you wonder if people were taking this seriously. And then we found the plays that did tell you that people were taking this seriously, ideas and questions of religion, identity, war, madness, love, desire, sexuality, uniquely, unmistakably theatrical, which is the magic of one person being in a space and changing it. Over the months, I found myself bored, overwhelmed, awed, and occasionally moved to tears. Not everyone can win, of course, especially when there are 3 different perspectives involved, but there are plays here that I will remember for the rest of my life. Thank you for that, and thank you also to the Sultan Padamsee Playwriting Award for recognizing writing, and Ayesha, who can get me to do just about anything. Congratulations to the winners, and good luck. Thank you very much.
As if in a dream, sands of time shift, adrift, journey over water. When I was very little, I made a journey halfway across the world. Where I came from and where I ended up are other stories. Somewhere in the middle, I was in Amsterdam. Wow, people said, Amsterdam. What did you see? Where did you go? Schiphol Airport. We had a layover for 3 days. I know every square inch of Terminal 2. There's a beautiful view between the water cooler and the Lego shop where you can admire all the KLM blue. I'm in Yokohama now. In the distance, Mount Fuji, the buildings soaring skyward. The water sparkles. There's that London Eye thing, whatever they keep calling that psychotic Ferris wheel thingy they keep building everywhere. Wow, people will say. What's it like? It's like Amsterdam. Daikoku Pier. I know every corner of my cabin like the back of my hand. 10th day of quarantine. February 2020. Afternoon. A cruise ship quarantined outside Yokohama.
Madam, the stationery you asked for.
Oh, thank you.
This is a lot of stationery.
Well, yes, thank you. I will write on both sides.
Let me know if you need anything at all.
Coffee.
Coffee?
Yeah, just could really do with some coffee.
We're clean out of stock.
I'm a writer. You lock me up for weeks. I'm going to write, but you have to get me coffee.
I mean...
I can't thank you enough for all your help so far.
So, what are you writing?
Oh, I don't know yet.
I hope it's a comedy.
Oh, why's that?
Oh, the times we live in? I'm a writer too, actually.
No way.
Yes way. This is my day job, yo. I'm working on a web series, Zombie Apocalypse, with a military doctor racing to find a cure. But you know, we are actually in a coronavirus apocalypse. So my friend was like, bro, people don't want to see that stuff. They'll get psyched. So now I have this like lady doctor, and then she meets this guy. It's more of a rom-com, sitcom kind of thing. I'm thinking of calling it Apocalyptic.
I think you're better off with zombies.
Yeah, I know, right? That's what I thought too. So, like, you write on paper?
With a fountain pen.
Freaking hardcore.
For me, this all feels very World War II. Every country involved, watching the horror of the numbers, state of the economy, talking heads of state addressing nations, wanting everything on war footing, wanting discipline, compliance, resolve, hard times, hard decisions, worldwide wobbling.
History repeats itself, huh?
But never quite the same way. So much uncertainty.
Lucky for us, we're stuck here. Complimentary internet, tripping on broken dreams and dank memes. Hans, bring me the flamethrowers. Honestly, I just don't know how to start.
Stories are a bit like dreams. I mean, they're floating about. If you allow yourself to drift offward, maybe you can catch one.
Wow, trippy. I'll try it. I'll see about your coffee.
Thank you.
And leave you to your work. You're like the most chill, zen passenger that we have, by the way.
Really?
Yep. Everybody else on board is dead. It's just you and me that survived. Just joking. Just mucking around. Meme humor. Too soon, I know. Too soon.
February 1946. Late evening. We're on the deck of a steamship, the SS Undaunted, en route to Bombay. Ismail on deck with a harpoon. No, a flag. No, a flamethrower. Blink and you'll miss it. Ibrahim, a sailor, an old Lascar, swabs the deck and hums a tune to himself.
Oh no! It's gone. I missed it. How did I miss my train? It's only past 10. Why did it come early? I've got my ticket. They are expecting me. It wouldn't go without me, would it? No, no. Calm yourself. That train is on its way somewhere else. That wasn't my train.
Hello, may I sit here beside you?
There's plenty of benches. Why not sit over there? I need to be comfortable. My old bones don't bend the way they used to.
You must be really old. What are you, 250?
Cheeky wave?
Just joking. You look great for your age.
You don't know how old I am.
I am 12.
Where is your mother? Don't look at me. I am not your mother. I'd remember something like you. I mean, don't smile at me, you chokri. Who's traveling with you?
You are.
What?
I am going with you.
You are not going anywhere with me, you cheeky chokri. I don't even know your name. And I don't even want to know. Kindly play somewhere else. I can't be exposed to childish whims. Not in my condition.
What condition is that?
I'm old.
And I'm young. Is that a condition too?
Yes, a very irritating one. Go, play now.
Will you play with me?
No.
Why not?
I'm waiting for a train and I don't want to get distracted. I don't want to miss it.
How can you miss a train? It's so big.
It takes a long time for me to get from one place to another. And I'm tired.
Lie down. Let me hold your bag for you.
Oh, no, you don't. Never. This is all I've got and I'm never letting go of it. Never.
Rukmani, look in my face.
How do you know my name?
Don't you know me?
How do you know my name?
You don't know who I am?
Yes, you are an exceedingly irritating creature, like a fly always buzzing around. Now kindly buzz off.
You don't remember being young? Don't you remember running, jumping, laughing, eating so many mangoes until your tummy hurt? Don't you remember?
No, I was never that young. But I do remember Granny's flat feet and poor Mummy and Daddy. Baba had a twin brother, Arun.
Adventurous Arun.
How do you know that, Miss Flippity Jip? Yes, adventurous Arun.
I can hear it. It's coming.
I can't hear anything. Will you stop that? I'm trying to listen.
Let me carry that bag for you.
Okay, but don't drop it, huh? Or I'll bring your neck up.
That would be suicide.
No, not suicide. It will be murder.
It's not stopping. Get ready to jump.
I jump. It has to stop. I've got a ticket. Anand is waiting.
No. Here we go. Jump. 3, 2, 1, jump!
When curtains open, Arjun stands majestically in the spotlight. It's evident that he is a Maharathi. He seems to be worried about something, but his face is calm. And then suddenly he is interrupted by,
"Why did you push me out?"
Arjun was surprised at this boy's obstinacy. What?
What? Spotlight से बाहर क्यों निकाला मुझे?
Let trivial matters be, young child. Tell me who you are.
Abhi.
Abhi? Why? Do you have a problem Abhi नाम बताने में?
No, that's my name. Abhimanyu. प्यार से मुझे अभी बुलाते हैं.
Abhimanyu? What brings you here?
I'm here to meet my future mother, Subhadra.
Meaning?
Meaning it's time for me to enter Ma Subhadra's womb as her child. Now please let me go.
Arjuna is getting slightly annoyed, but being the patient man that he is, he places his hand on Abhimanyu's shoulders with paternal love and says, "Sure, but you can still speak to me. I'm going to be your father after all."
You're right. Sorry, I'm nervous so I don't know what I'm saying.
No offense taken. Now come and sit with me for a while.
No thank you. I'm in a little bit of a hurry. The window of ovulation is very small.
Okay, fine. I guess I'll have to play this wonderful new game by myself now.
Game?
Yes, just released. Grand Theft Chakravyuh. It's one of the hardest formation games ever. You can consider yourself dead without cheat codes.
But why are you telling me all this now?
So much suspicion at such a young age. Why?
Because you're a Pandav.
So are you. Anyway, Chakravyuh. The first two levels are ridiculously simple, but this is just a warm-up, okay? The third and fourth levels will test you, but concentrate and you'll be fine.
What about these gold coins that are floating in the air?
You just focus on the parrot's eyes.
What parrot?
Never mind. When there is an opening, rush into this sector, but keep looking behind you, because they'll try to ambush you from behind.
You seem to know this inside out.
Hard work and perseverance, boy. But even that won't help you in the final boss level. Only a chosen few know how to survive this level without dying.
तो बताइए ना, how does one survive this last level?
For today, we'll stop here. I'll teach you the rest next time. Pakka.
But this is not fair.
Assuming a heroic calm pose, Arjuna explains. Bacho, like they say, all is fair and lovely in war.
Who says that? And what does that even mean?
It means that you're destined to know this much. You're not meant to know how to get out of the system.
Pitashri, why is every father in the Mahabharata written out to be so immensely greedy and selfish? I mean, what could be Vyasa's motive that after much deliberation, he wrote all fathers to be this self-centered?
Baap ko mat sikha. You're a junior actor, behave like a junior actor, okay? Why are all the fathers so greedy? Kaun hai bhi greedy hamare group mein?
Everyone. There was King Shantanu, who watched as 7 of his sons were drowned one by one. Then there's Dhritarashtra, who constantly unsees the tantrums of his son Duryodhan. Then there's you, the greatest warrior in the world, Arjuna.
Reacting to utter childishness of this child, Arjuna exclaims, "Unbelievable."
What's unbelievable is that you're teaching your own son only half the knowledge of surviving a military formation. Because you're insecure of being the single greatest archer. Why create me at all?
Hey Prabhu, are you listening to this? Abey yaar, Abhimanyu, chronology ko samjho yaar. When this chapter was being written, I didn't know that you are going to be trapped in there.
But you know it now. You can choose differently now.
You speak with so much innocence, my son. This is merely a reenactment. This event has already happened. We can't change that.
If you don't change the intergenerational cycle, then you'll continue to expect your son to die for you every time.
Abhi tu kya bol raha hai? All this is not in the script. Silly child, don't stray away from the written word. We don't choose our fathers. We only get to choose how we carry out their aspirations. looks far into the distance.
But then why do fathers abandon their sons?
Okay, now, I need to go. If you're so principled, then you play alone. Give me my weapons. I'm going home.
But this is your home.
Then I'm going to my room.
What's the point of father figures if at the slightest hint of revolt, they get uncomfortable and disappear?
Listen, stop this liberal nonsense, okay? Or if I lose my temper now.
धमकी दे रहे हैं.
इसे धमकी नहीं बच्चों, पेट्रियार्की कहते हैं.
Present day America. A table and 3 chairs, lots of teacups. Mother, Mankaran, Baljit. They are drinking tea or not drinking tea, whichever the case may be. This awkwardness goes on for a long time.
Baljit, you have a great deal of humility. Where did you learn it? Can you teach some to my daughter?
Are you guys fighting?
I'm right here.
I'm talking to our guest.
She means honorary son. The child she wishes she had, but she got stuck with me instead.
Should I leave?
No.
Okay. Monk is confident. Aggressive even, but she's got a way to deal with what she deals with. And she's a good person. She's helped so many of her students become more confident in themselves. She's tough. Just like you are, Auntie.
You mean when she's teaching them about 1984? Something she knows nothing about.
I probably know more about it than you do.
Monk?
See? Who else can handle her besides you, Baljit? You're defiant. You are humble. You balance each other out.
I'm not marrying my best friend just because you don't have any hope that anyone else will ever love me.
And you are religious, Baljit. That's something. I think that's important when raising kids. It's important to understand that we are inconsequential in many ways, small in the scope of things. I used to be religious, but over time I felt unworthy of it.
What do you mean?
God is not going to listen to my prayers. Nor should she or he or whatever you young people say these days. Huh?
Seriously. You're telling him all of this, but you can't talk to me.
I'm telling you. I'm telling both of you.
I'm religious.
Just the trappings. But it's not in your heart. You use it. You wield it like a weapon. You think it makes you different, special, no? Being sick. You have no humility. You are a dissector. You like to take things apart. It's different to see something and just let it be because it's beautiful and not to have to understand everything about it.
Ankaran exits.
She hurts a lot inside.
I know. It's a kind of hurt that makes her strong, and she needs to be strong. She relies too much on me. Even her anger against me is a crutch. I won't be here for her.
They drink their tea.
You know, I heard this once from an elder who was trying to explain why he chose to keep his hair. And he said it was because I accept what has been given by God. I'm content with what I have. I want no more and no less. You know, I try to think of that and also apply to myself sometimes. I know that I'm nothing special, but maybe I'm enough just as I am.
Yes, it would be nice to think so.
Auntie, I can't be something that I'm not.
I'm not asking you to. So you are gay. So what? As long as you come home and have dinner with the family and you raise the kids well.
They drink their tea. Enter Mankaran.
I'm never enough for you. I'm never enough for her, Baljeet. You just want Baljeet to marry me because I couldn't take care of a child on my own. I bet you want me to get rid of the child, don't you? The way that you wish you could have gotten rid of me.
Mother slaps Mankaran. But then mother is conflicted between wanting to comfort her and wanting to push her away.
I'm sorry you had to see this, Baljeet. My daughter, you are a grown-up now. You take your own decisions.
What?
I'm like this cup. Old and broken.
She drops the cup. It shatters. She drops another one. She sweeps the cups off the table. They land with a crash. Mother sways, then sits.
Are you out of your mind? And of course I need you. Have you been taking your pills? What's wrong with you? Mom?
I'm old. I'm broken. My time has passed.
Mother reaches out and takes Mankaran's hand, grips it.
I'm calling the doctor. And you're not old. You're not.
That was lovely, wasn't it? We hope you enjoyed that video. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a pleasure to introduce to you Ayesha Sayani, the convener of the Sultan Padamsee Playwriting Awards. Miss Sayani has made a series of acclaimed short films, feature films, documentaries and advertising films and has won multiple awards for her work. A very warm welcome to Ayesha Sayani.
Hello and welcome to the Sultan Padamsee Playwriting Awards 2020. We received about 104 plays this year, and what you just saw were excerpts from the 4 plays that made it to the finals. And thanks to the wonders of the digital age and many algorithms, we have here with us the 4 playwrights. Well, I think we have 4. Actually, we seem to have only 3. So there's Ganesh Kamatham, who wrote Undaunted, the first play, who is in Bangalore. There's Prashanth Nair, who has written Freeing Frankenstein, who is also a Bengaluru boy. And somewhere there is Mashuq Deen, though I cannot see him or her, who lives in the Bronx in New York and has written this wonderful play called The Shaking Earth. I don't know, do we have Radha with us or not? Yet? Nobody knows? Okay. I can't hear any. Has Radha come on yet? Okay. Well, we shall just have to continue. Ram, let's start with you. You've got this wonderful line in your play that is, stories are like dreams and floating about, and if you just let yourself drift off, you can catch one. Can you tell us how you catch your dreams and make them into plays?
Thanks for that interesting question, Ayesha. I think for me, as a contemporary writer, dreams and memory become one of the very interesting ways in which to enter one's subject material. And in some sense, in Undaunted, we have a very heady cocktail, a collision of dreams, memory, and history. And in some sense, what I enjoy doing is reading factual material or digging up or excavating found material, minutiae, things that ordinarily researchers might pass over because they're not particularly significant, and imagine what one would what that actually would be like, what the realistic, what the moment would be like. And so one of the ways I enjoy working with dream as a method is as a kind of conduit to the unconscious mind, and using that in a kind of a combination with memory and history, and these three strands sort of interweave together to create a narrative.
You have used, as part of your narrative, the history part of your narrative is a lot about labor and migration. What is it about labor and migration that has enthused you enough to write a play about it?
Interesting enough, this play was written in the early stages of the lockdown, but the research for it happened prior to the lockdown. In some sense, the labor or the issues of workers have become frighteningly relevant, and we saw it in India, especially in the early stages of the lockdown. It ended up being that one was inadvertently looking at a historical moment, looking at migration away from India, looking at sailors and the lives of these people as they left home, or home in the form of the India that was before 1947, but looking to carry with them some sense of that India. And I think with this piece I was trying to access that consciousness, access the dreams of those people as they left India's shores. I became particularly interested in journeys that have not received as much attention, and so one of those journeys was migration of Indian workers to Malaya, British Malaya at the time, now present-day Malaysia. And a lot of my source material came from very, very moving and very beautiful sea journeys that took place, especially between 1934, 1935 and 1928. And one ship in particular became really, really interesting for me. So despite working with historical material, and despite heading down that road or that route, if one was to take the ship metaphor a little forward, I ended up inadvertently speaking very, very strongly to the contemporary moment, which has experienced such drastic disruption. And one cannot take those images of migrant labor workers just walking home in the early stages of the lockdown. That image is not going to go away in a hurry. And so for me, this play, in some sense, because of the moment in which it was written, resonates with that particular set of ideas.
You know, this play has been, part of it it's been funded by an IFA grant. And I was just wondering, as a writer, when you have, when you know that at the end of your journey that you are going to have to present it to a committee and get an approval, how does that affect your writing?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it's a kind of there's two contradictory kind of instincts at play. One is the instinct of the researcher, which is to go dig up and find material. And one is the instinct of the artist, which is to not be content with the factual material, the found material, but the experience, the human experience of it. So I've juggled these two hats for a while, and in this particular piece, I thought I would write a bunch of material that was factual, that was research-based, and for me that was the kind of grant-specific output, where the sort of funny discoveries one makes when one is looking at archival material, historical research, those little things that one ends up finding, I think those was something that I was very happy to share with the committee. But honestly, and I think a lot of my theatre friends will agree with me, the play itself is yet to be found, and it will be found, I would imagine, on the rehearsal floor. And so it's still, and I'm notorious for this, it's still a work in progress, and I will probably be tinkering with the text up until opening night, much to the the mixture of admiration and hatred that most of my collaborators, direct my way.
Okay, you have named Girish Karnad and Tom Stoppard and Howard Barker as some of your favorite playwrights. How have they influenced you? Have they influenced you in your writing?
I think very early on, Girish was kind enough to support me on a residency that I went to overseas, and I was very lucky very early in my career to meet some incredible writers, including Tom Stoppard. And so when this actually concerns an earlier piece, Ultimate Kurukshetra. So for me, the conversations with Tom Stoppard and his whole approach towards Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead became very interesting for me as a playwright, working with a similar sort of small heroes material, smaller characters set against an epic backdrop. With Howard Barker, however, I've never met him, and I do admire his work greatly. And I think he has this wonderful conception of the theater of catastrophe. And in this particular moment, there's two aspects to it which are noteworthy. One is that he believes art is not digestible, so he doesn't believe that it's something that can just be consumed. And I love the phrase that he uses. He says it's an irritant in our consciousness. And right now, the kind of art that we ought to be producing is something that ought to not soothe us, not to placate us, because of the kind of devastation we're seeing in the world outside, but something that should irritate our consciousness enough for us to take some kind of action. The other thing is the more literal understanding of catastrophe, where Howard Barker sets his plays in moments of huge social and political turmoil. And I think with this piece, there's a sense that in the contemporary moment, especially with the kind of pandemic, the effects of it, a lot of the political movements that are taking place at this moment in time, we're sort of sliding back in time, and we are in a literal sort of moment of catastrophe. So as far as the Howard Barker influence, if I can arrogate that claim, that would be for me a kind of, this piece is a sort of engagement with the theater of catastrophe idea, setting narrative at a moment of huge political and social turmoil. And seeing the kind of dislocation that's happening between the present and what seems to be us sliding into some regressive past. And we feel like right now we're much back in the 1930s with sort of, fascist movements on the rise and huge sort of social turmoil. So that's where I would pin the sort of influences that the other playwrights have had.
Great. Let's move on to Prashanth. All right. So, one of the things when you leave a play, characters are what are left with you. You've shared fragments of their lives for a few hours, but somehow they seem to be very essential to the understanding of our own lives. And I found your play, Prashanth, had a great impact on me where the characters were concerned. So I was wondering, where and how do you think up your characters, and how do they find their inner voices? I mean, do you let them, do they take off on their own, or do you play God and, decide what they're going to say and where they're going?
Wow, I would love to say I do play God and know exactly what a character is going to be and how they're going to turn out. But I'm glad to say that I have loved in the process of discovering this play, also discovering the characters and what they need to be, what they end up being. Of course, the very wretched process of editing means that then you get down to streamlining and cutting down and making a character work in a piece that you're setting out to write. But what I think is with this play especially, because I also had sort of a very inspiring skeleton from Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. A lot of the characters were already there. It allowed me to rewrite them a certain way, to reveal more about them, and actually to reveal themselves to me. While I put them in strange, uncomfortable situations or put them in a very mundane place, and allowed, sort of watched for them to reveal themselves in that position. So that I found it to be a very fruitful and a very surprising process for me as a writer as well. Yeah.
I think people must be wondering what Arjuna and Abhimanyu were doing in that. So it would be nice actually if you could, tell us about your characters and how you've interwoven them. What have they brought out?
Yeah. I think what was most interesting for me was how the play sort of revealed itself in sort of three concentric rings, so to speak. I started off with a very simple question of saying, what does it mean to be considered a living being, or who is a living being? How do I prove it? Who proves it? Who approves of it? And that's a question that's dealt with and asked a lot in the original, in Frankenstein itself. But what really struck me was the motive of fathers and their creations, of people, of men creating sons, so to speak, and the masculinity that it entails, of what does it mean to have a son, and what do you pass on, and the hypermasculinity that exists in it. And I found itself connecting very, very strongly to Arjuna, who has a son, almost a son who needs to go into battle and die in Arjuna's place. That seemed very similar to me when compared to Victor, a scientist creating a monster and then not knowing what to do with it, to create a monster and then disowning it. The monster being just an experiment or a quest for glory. And then with these two layers around, it almost made sense that Abhimanyu seemed like Frankenstein's monster to me. And that was a very interesting comparison to make, because Abhimanyu was a 14-year-old child when he was sent into battle. Frankenstein's monster as well was born almost like a child, like an infant, and had to find their way around. And that got me to another circle which sort of formed itself around the play, which is the theme of imprisonment, of prisons that we hold ourselves to. The fact that the choices we make, or the positions that we are put into, or the oppressive nature of life itself are prisons in one way or another. Frankenstein's monster also considers himself, his body, a prison, because he's been created a certain way. Abhimanyu is imprisoned by the expectations of the Pandavas, and especially his father. So it almost cascaded one into the other, and that revelation in the process of writing was I think most interesting for me.
Yeah, really. I mean, I didn't realize that, so many of the Mahabharata fathers were in this group, as you say. I love that. So, you have brought many aspects of the digital age into your play. So, I wanted to know what you yourself felt about artificial intelligence and the fact that algorithms are now controlling so much of our lives, including this.
Yeah, I see it as logical steps in evolution. I see it as growth. While researching for the play, I was reading a lot about people like us, and how we respond to the vision of a robotic future, or the vision of AI running systems in the future. And there is a very researched form of violence that exists towards anything robot, anything AI. The fear that comes from saying this thing that someone has created is probably going to take over the world, take over my jobs, and is sort of the logical evolutionary step from human beings. So I found that very interesting, that there have been very recorded cases of violence against robots manning industries and at traffic signals. I think that more and more we are going to have to look at questions beyond just the moral implication of it and look at what AI means, what it's doing, and whether we like it or not. We are rapidly careening towards a future that is going to be mechanized, that is going to be intelligent, that is going to be evolving. So from a very science fiction point of view, as scary as it may seem, I feel that we are already living there. We are already living in it.
True. Yes. Tell me, are you now a full-time playwright, or do you still have your day job in advertising? I saw that you were in advertising.
Yes, I do have. Yes, I do have a job that pays the bills in advertising. Yeah.
All right. Okay. All right. Do we have Radha? No. We have a photograph, a very pretty photograph of Radha. So, Mashuq, we shall carry on to you. Mashuq Deen, I love this name, lives in New York, but has written one of the most heart-rending accounts of the 1984 Delhi killings. And the fact that the repercussions of that are still resonating and are still, affecting people. I've read that you have said that you want to devastate people, your audience, with kindness, and that you're interested in heroic journeys of the heart. How have you used these concepts in your play, The Shaking Earth?
I mean, that part is a little bit of magic, I think, because I don't think it's a conscious thing that I'm able to do to say this is how, but I know that part of what I search for both when I see plays and when I create plays is this devastation that I think what it does is, it's as if your heart grows like a little shell around it over time, and the devastation cracks something and allows you to bleed, and it hurts a little bit, but it also allows your heart to expand, and you might realize that your heart was bigger than you realized it was. And I think part of what I want to have that relationship with the audience is to shatter their hearts a little bit so that they can grow a little bit bigger, to complicate their sense of right and wrong and their values so that their empathy or their capacity for empathy for other people grows. I really think my job as a writer is both to challenge people that are like myself and also challenge people who might be in opposition to myself, and to comfort both of those people, to find that complex area where maybe we're not communicating or connecting, or where we're human because we know what loss and pain and love and hurt feels like. And I think that's a place where change and commonality can happen, where we could come together.
You've also said in an interview during your play, Draw the Circle, which I wish you would bring here, you said, neither one of us has to be right or wrong. And in fact, you can take right and wrong right off the table. How would you be able to apply that to something which is so patently wrong as the Delhi killings? Would you be able to?
That's a good question and a hard question. I think if I've created, if in a play I create a bad guy who is so easily bad that he doesn't challenge us in some way, then I haven't done my job as a writer. I haven't made him complicated enough or delved into how he became that way. How did Kamal in the play become somebody who would participate in these killings? What changed in him that allowed him to see people as an other? And are we capable of that? Like, what saves us from that? And what is that slippery slope? So it's not that the Delhi killings are ever right. They were horrific. But we should feel that, oh, it's not so easy to judge them and we're safe over here. We should constantly wrestle with ourselves to say, are we doing that? Have we participated in something like that online, elsewhere? Like, are we part of the mob? how close are we to becoming part of the mob? How easily do we rest in our own, oh, I'm right, I'm righteousness? And I think that should be a complicated question that we always ask ourselves. It should never be easy.
Isn't. When you write about history, how do you choose between what to report and what to make up? How do you do that?
That's a very good question. With this play, which is my most historical play, there is a confluence of doing a lot of research and then to some degree throwing it out and trusting that some of it is living now inside of you, and then following the music of the play. And I often talk about plays as music, and I hear the characters and I try to really stay true to who they are. Of course, I am the filter and the lens of my work. So the fact that I know what it is to come from an immigrant family or be from the LGBTQ community, or those things are definitely parts of the filter that I apply to the story, but then I try and be true to the characters as they are. And so, were there a Tamal and a Manu, and did this actually happen? Of course I don't know. Did 1984 happen? Absolutely. But then there is a truth, I think, to those characters, and often the histories we're told are very straight or very doctored in a certain way with a certain lens. And I wanted to show also that people in histories come from all castes, all backgrounds, are struggling with a multiplicity of struggles, I guess, even as they are then working through or having to survive a horrific event like the 1984 massacres. So there's some dance, I think, between what is like inside of you, what you're channeling from who knows where. And then I think a writer has to sort of have a tuning fork to the truth. And you're like, I'm trying to listen to make sure I'm always telling the truth. And at what point does maybe the writer Dean get in the way and I have to cut that part out because I've tried to tell the audience something or lecture them, and nobody wants to be lectured to. So I cut that stuff out and I try to really like hone in on something that feels true for the time, but emotionally true. And emotionally true is a different thing. Sometimes a little fiction helps an audience understand an emotional truth better than just a documentary impact. If that makes sense.
All the plays that have come in this, it's amazing how they've touched me. Actually, I am constantly sort of going into okay. I see that Radha Menon has joined us. Is that Radha, or is it still a glamorous photo? Okay, there's Radha. Radha, plays are often about journeys, physical and metaphysical. Both you and Ram have taken your protagonists on various journeys, Ram by sea and you by rail. Did the idea of the journey determine the structure of your play? I mean, what came first? Did the story you wanted to tell or the way you wanted to tell it? How did it happen in Rukmani's Gold? I'm not hearing Radha. Is there a problem? Should I be pinning Radha? Hello. Does anyone know? Okay. I'm going to pin Radha. Okay, I pinned Radha. Does that help? Ah, there you are. Okay, we can't hear you. Radha, switch on your sound. I think there's a little mic icon at the bottom. Just click on it. Yep. Okay. Now, there you are. Now we can hear you.
Oh, sorry about that. Okay.
Okay, not at all. Glad to see you here.
After a whole morning of technical difficulties, you can now hear me. So, the actual story came first? I had a sort of a vision of the first scene while I was standing at a railway station. It was in Cornwall, in England. It was a really deserted railway station, and I was on my own. There were no lights. It was midnight. I was taking an overnight train to London, and I was thinking, is this train ever going to come? Am I going to be standing here alone? It was cold, and then I thought, wow, what is that? And I saw this lady, and it was Rukmini, in a white sari, clutching onto her battered suitcase and just running for the train. And that just sparked this idea of, would I recognize myself if I met myself in 50 years? And that's how the story began. And it progressed in the same manner. So yes, the story came first, and then the idea of the stations and the idea of us continually moving, not only my own family, but just the movement of the South Asian diaspora itself, you know, through the global industrial revolution and the movement of bodies to do work for their colonial master. Great Britain.
So you say you're obsessed with methods of social control, that you like to explore the causes that birth social norms as they are today. What are the causes you've explored in Rukmini's Gold? It would be nice to tell.
Okay, so I would say number one in Rukmini's Gold is colonialism. Number two is patriarchy. And number three is bias against women. And that's it. I mean, those are the main causes. I'd say that, and I look at it because I think about all my own family and myself, and my own family, all the women in my family. I notice I'm, other than you, Ayesha, I'm the only woman here, and that's only because women aren't given the opportunities. Women don't get the chance to go to school and places, don't get the chance to go to university, don't get the chance to do all the things that the lads do. Because there's one rule for the fellas and there's one rule for the girls, and that's not just it. That's not just in our culture. That's all over the world, right? But I think that that really touched me, because I watched the women in my own family, including my own mother, go through things because of all these things, because of where she was born, who she was born to, the gender she was born.
Oops, sound is going.
Has a lot to do with it. You know?
In fact, you began writing plays, you say, because you found that there was a paucity of roles for South Asian women, and you even started your own theatre group.
Yeah.
Because
well,
how have plays about South Asian women, not only yours, how have they been received in the West? Because you are living in Canada. How are they received?
Well, Rukmini's Gold was developed in London with Kali Theatre, and then it won the Toronto Fringe New Play Contest. Because even though it's about South Asian women, it's about the human condition. Rukmini's Gold is about the human condition. It's about love. It's about loss. It's about exodus. It's about joy. It's about points of departure. It's about immigration. It's about leaving everything that you know and embarking on a journey without ever knowing what's at the other end. And Canada is a country full of immigrants. We're all settlers. Unless you are actually a person of First Nations birth. We're all settlers, so it doesn't matter how many people in Canada like to say you're not Canadian. You're not Canadian either, unless your family are Indigenous. So, I mean, it's kind of a heavy, can be difficult to navigate sometimes. So the plays are accepted, but they're not produced. They're not put on by anybody, which is why I founded Red Betty Theatre. And next year will be Red Betty Theatre's 10th anniversary.
Wow.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I have been told that I have to wrap up. So, so this is all the time we have for today. To actually get the full impact of the plays by these playwrights, we will have to see them. Hopefully, the Sultan Padamsee Awards will be a stepping stone towards that goal. Let's hope someone picks up your plays over here and we get to see them. I hope you're open to actually having your plays done in India. I know Ram and Prashanth have no problem, but Mashuq and Radha, would you actually get your plays here? I mean, it would be great. I mean, they are wonderful plays, so, you know. Anyway, so I will now thank all of you. Thank you, Ram. Thank you, Prashanth. Thank you, Radha. Thank you, Mashuq.
Thank you, Ayesha.
And,
Thank you, Ayesha.
Let me tell everybody, please join us for the award session, which is next. It's at 8:30. You have to get yourself onto some other link, but I hope to see you there. So, good night and bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sayani, Ram, Mashuq, Radha, and Prashanth for this wonderfully heartwarming conversation and for taking the time out to join us today. We all really hope we get to watch a production of all your plays someday soon. Thank you to our title sponsor, Tata, and to you, our audience, for being here. Coming up at 8:30 p.m. IST is the Tata Literature Live 2020 Awards Ceremony. I know I'm really excited about it, and I hope to see you all there. See you.